asociados. eloybellopérez@gmail.com. Bello y Asociados, abogados. Bávaro, Punta Cana.
Si quiere comer carne de la pura, si quiere comer mofongos de Doña Pula, vámonos a comer donde Doña Pula, vámonos a comer donde venden el tajo de verdad. ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? Me voy pa' donde Pula. Dicen en Santiago y el Cibao entero, es que en Doña Pula el sazón es bueno, buenísimo. ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? Me voy pa' donde Pula. Los aguiluchos y los liceístas vengan a comer esta carne frita. ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? Me voy pa' donde Pula. ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? ¿A dónde Pula? Me voy pa' donde Pula.
Síguenos en las redes. @puntacanahits.
Every Friday at 7 p.m., Punta Cana Hits presents What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio, the #1 English talk show in the area, with the best that the Dominican Republic and the rest of the world have to offer.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio. And tonight, from all the way over on the other side of the world in Australia, we have three incredible men who are working together to bring mental wellness and health to the rest of the world with their company, Ascendia. And so tonight I'm going to have an interview with three of these amazing people. Daniel Mansour, who is a performance-driven nutritionist with over 25 years of experience specializing in optimizing human potential through strategic nutrition and psychological insight. And then we have Glenn Marson, who is an amazing friend of mine, and he is a globally recognized producer, talent strategist, and founder of the Imperfectly Perfect campaign, one of Australia's most influential well-being movements. And finally, we have Daryl Kelly, who is a health and wellness coach, and with over 20 years of experience in the fitness and nutrition industry, and also as well in mindset training. So I am really excited to have them here tonight. It's kind of one of their first together interviews on Ascendi and what they do. And so obviously they're going to be able to introduce themselves much better than I'm going to do any credit to them. So welcome Daniel, Glenn, and Daryl to What's Up Punta Cana.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Right.
Yay!
Right, Glenn, you take it away first.
Yeah, so I'd like you each to kind of introduce each other individually. Let's start with Daniel. And just to kind of give you, because I only gave like a little brief introduction here to each of you. So let's start with Daniel, and tell us a little bit more about you and how you came to be where you are today.
Okay. First of all, I think you did a great job, Chrissy. You've summarized myself quite well, but just to elaborate a little bit, I've always been involved. When I say always, as far as I can remember, Dad was quite passionate about the martial arts. So he put myself and my older brother into karate at the age of 5 years old. So sports, fitness, was always and has always been, as far as I can remember, a big part of my life. And as I got a little bit older, I continued in the martial arts. Karate shifted into boxing with some kickboxing. Obviously, nutrition is a big part of that, is a big part of being an athlete, especially as you want to perform at a higher sort of elite level. Nutrition, exercise, sleep and recovery, stress management, things like that are a big part and have always been a big part of my life. But over the years, you learn that advice isn't always good advice. So, you know, you undergo education and you learn through literature. But it's my belief through my experience that certainly in my case, I did learn, I won't say a lot more, but the real lessons were learned through experience. So for example, I might have been given guidance to use and eat certain, a certain meal plan with certain supplements. And in a lot of cases, that might have been not only suboptimal, but especially with the supplement industry, it can sometimes be detrimental to one's health if you overdo it, let's say. And that certainly happened to me with, liver problems and kidney issues because of over supplementing. But, I learned that in my late teens after undergoing a certain protocol for a period of time under supposedly expert advice. But yeah, so experience absolutely has played a big role in my life in terms of what I've learned. But yeah, so essentially I've been in this industry for, as you mentioned, over 25 years. I've been doing this professionally as a sports coach, sports and wellness coach, and a nutritionist since I was 18, 19 years old. And I've helped many, many people. So, and I'm very, very passionate about it. And the big reward is seeing people's lives improve for the better. That is a very, very rewarding thing to have. And hence why I continue to do it. And I love doing it.
Well, I find that very interesting. So many things you said right there. I could unpack a million, especially the over supplementing part. I find very interesting. But we will come back to that because we have a long conversation to have. And so up next, I'd like to introduce Glenn Marsden.
Well, it's been a couple of times since I've been on this radio show, so thanks for having me first and foremost, Christy. A good friend of mine, as rightly said. As you know, we've spoke about the Imperfectly Perfect campaign before. It's something that I had placed on my heart. I lost a good friend to suicide, sadly. I went through my own battles with body dysmorphia, and essentially what I wanted to do was really draw attention to the human rawness, what I feel that we've been losing for the past maybe 10, 20 years, that human connection part. So with the Imperfectly Perfect, essentially it is bringing that unique rawness and imperfections out of people, predominantly a lot of famous people, so we can show that we're all just one. We've all gone through something, whether it be adversity, trauma, and if we can just share those stories and get people to seek help, that's the biggest thing for me. It's been 7 years now. I'm very grateful. It has impacted a lot of people. And this is where I met these two incredible guys through my work. So thanks for having us, Christy.
Yes, thank you. I'm holding myself back right now until you all introduce yourself. So, Daryl, welcome, Daryl Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, similar story to Dan. Really, always been into sports, and then you have a few personal issues which then create stronger, personality, and going through losses of losing my dad at a young age, which then forced me more into the fitness industry. I run a business as well, so I got to see how to run a business and the struggles that people go through running a business. So then that moved me even further across into the fitness space so that I could help more people going through the struggles that I was going through. And I've been fortunate enough since then to set up a company where I've helped people in the US and the UK and Ireland, all over the world, through the strategies that I have learned on my journey. And everyone's different. Everyone's journey is different. So there is no set one way for individuals. And I feel that's how the three of us combined, we've all gone through our own personal journeys, and the skills that we've learned combined together puts us in a better position to help people along their journeys in life as well.
So I'm interested in knowing, because with Ascendia Wellness, I mean, you guys bring a lot of years and a lot of experience to the table. And as we think about that and what the three of you coming together to do is tell everybody, what is Ascendia Wellness Group and what is the mission and vision that you are trying to accomplish with it?
Who wants to go?
You can go first, Mr. Confident Speaker.
You can each go too.
Well, I think
Because it
I
probably
think
has a little something for each of you.
Yeah.
well, I think one of the biggest things is, like you said there, we've got over 6 decades of experience between us all. And as well as that lived experience, we have got those credentials and that skill set through qualifications. Like we're all there with masters in the areas of physicality when it comes to mental well-being and also the nutrition and supplement place. So we wanted to bring in a holistic ecosystem towards the corporate sector, because predominantly what you see within that corporate sector, we've all worked in that sector throughout the years, whether with clients or whether we've worked in it ourselves. And there's such a disconnection when it comes between performance and getting that activated between the top tier, which is your CEOs, then your middle tier of your executives, and then your employees. So that's where we combined that. Daryl actually brought us together. It was an idea that he came up with. And just combining all those years of experience, we have just seen that niche that, yes, there are a lot of companies going into corporates, but the holistic approach when it comes to combining all of these areas and bringing our speakers in, bringing our tools in, our credentials, our qualifications, and also on the top with Daniel being that nutritionist who's doing it for that long with top performing athletes and executives, what he can do with his supplement range. We've all done his protocol. We couldn't put it out there unless we'd gone through his protocol, as well as Daryl's protocol, as well as mine. We've all got a background in fitness. I was in it for over 20 years as well. So each of us cross and really just complement each other really well. So all in all, it's the holistic approach to working from top tier to the lower levels to that ecosystem of physicality, mental well-being, and nutrition and supplementation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also we're going into companies and we're not telling them what we think they need. We listen to them and then we give them what they actually need. And there's lots of companies out there that are doing similar things to what we are looking at doing, but they have their systems in place and you buy the product, whereas the product from us will be customized to what you exactly need as a company and as an individual.
Yeah, that's spot on. We're only as good as our weakest link, and each individual has different deficiencies. So for example, nutrition, a foundational nutrition program and or supplementation program has to be catered for the individual. Say when you go to a doctor, if you've got a headache, he gives you something for a headache. If you've got a broken leg, he caters for the broken leg. It's the same thing with deficiencies in each individual. So it is absolutely 100% custom to the individual's needs. And we ascertain what their needs are through a questionnaire and or blood work. So it's very comprehensive. We cover nutrition, an exercise protocol, sleep and recovery, things like stress management, relationships, and the mental side, purpose as to why we do what we do. So absolutely, going off what the guy said, it is a complete holistic approach, as it has to be, because the human body it's not a one size fits all solution. You could have a performance vehicle like a Ferrari, but if the front tire's flat and you're putting in the wrong petrol, it's going to run suboptimal, to say the least. So, and that's what I found over the last 25 or so years. Most people are running suboptimal. That's being conservative. So if someone's running a 30% efficacy, at a minimum, we can double that within the first few weeks. And we have done things like this, like the track record shows, after 2 weeks on a specific protocol catered for an individual's needs, they always come back saying they feel so much better, whether that's twice as good, 3 times as good. It all depends on their starting point and baseline. That'll determine how much they're going to get from this. But absolutely, there's always room for improvement for everybody, us 3 included.
Daryl, when you decided to bring this group together, or start with them, what was the motivation behind it? What was the catalyst that said, you know what, there's just too many people need too many things, and this just is something that needs to happen?
Yeah, so I've dealt with a lot of just executives individually, And I've always found that they've struggled dealing with a lot of what's going on in their teams. So what's going on below them is affecting them in their personal lives and in their job as well. And also, my partner is quite high up in a company as well, and I see and hear all the struggles that's going on in their company too. You know, you've got the top management giving out orders of what they want to implement. Then you've got the managers trying to get the staff then to pass that on. But there's such a disconnect between the top and the bottom that the top don't realize that the employees are broken. They're crying, they're in tears. You know, and I hear that, I've heard it, I've seen it. So I'm like, there's got to be a better way that we can fix this. And then through speaking to the executives that I work with, they encourage me then to move ahead and make it into more of a corporate business rather than an individual coaching business. And I couldn't think of two better guys to work with. I've known Dan a very long time, and same with Glenn, you know, and through speaking to them and just after speaking to them over, you know, I suggested to them, and then over a period of time, it's like, well, we've got to do this. We can do this. You know, we can make a big change. And
Yeah.
it's, like I say, we're not just helping the executive or the employee, because it then translates into their family life. And if we can help them be a happier person at work, imagine what they're like at home too, and then it passes on through the family. Again, I see that with myself in my household.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I think one of the things that's really important is that, you know, kind of like it's a suffer in silence thing. And I'm going to say that I think it's more so for men than women, but I think women at a higher level, they're suffering in silence also, because they're kind of also pressured by trying to hold that man CEO or higher corporate place where they have to also look like, you know, they're not emotional because, you know, we get labeled as that too. So here you are keeping this all in, as well as men. And then also one of the things that I think Daniel said was that, you know, our bodies are not one size fits all when it comes to nutrition and everything. Everybody says, okay, let's eat broccoli because broccoli is good for you, but it might not be good for me. Might be good for somebody else. So I like the fact that it really is truly a holistic way of doing something, other than just, you know, because a lot of times you see corporates, you go in, you talk, you have a talk, it makes you feel good, you know, try and pep people up. But this is really, you know, a 360 approach to everything. So what do you see the most that you feel when you go in, right? When you go in and somebody hires you, take us through the process of what that means.
So there's a huge aspect before we even start working with the company. So essentially what we do, one of the guys, whether myself, Daryl, or Dan, we'll work individually at the beginning with a thorough questionnaire. We want to know from top to bottom what's going on in that company. That's why we say it's a full spectrum ecosystem. So when that holistic approach, what I love about these two guys is why I wanted to be a part of it as well, is because we're all under the same umbrella. The human connection is missing. And it's missing so much in that corporate sector, from that top tier to down to the employees, like Daryl was saying. We're watching it. We've got partners who are in that industry. We've been in it. We've worked with them. And essentially what we're seeing time and time again is through well-being movements or mental health movements. As you know, I do one, but with the speaking world, it's essentially they get a speaker who's a footballer coming in to a bunch of corporate people who are just rolling their eyes. It's like corporates are ticking boxes. It's not industry appropriate. So what we're seeing, and the feedback that we take from the questionnaires, is a two-tier approach. We hear from the employees, we hear from the executives and the CEOs, and see how we can really integrate ourselves into that and work, like the boys have said, individually and holistically as a team. Because if you're not working in unison, so it complements each other, another thing that we often see is that when there's struggle dynamics within the company, you've got your top CEOs who think we need to save money. They'll get rid and lay off a lot of people. But what that actually does is like you were saying there, Christy, alluding to it earlier, it puts more pressure on whoever's at the top to do more hours, which trickles over into the family life. The husband or the wife is not seeing them because they're constantly working. Here in Australia, apparently there's a law where after 5 o'clock you can turn off. That's not always achievable. So they're putting more added stress. They're putting more layers on top of themselves. It affects the husband, their wife, their kids, and all these layers because the top end of the game are thinking that they have to lay off people to save more money. It's actually creating much more of a dissonance between people and there's no synergy. So everything breaks down. So that's why we go in with that questionnaire initially. We don't even start working with them for about 2 months because it needs that amount of time for me to go in and recognize what they need help in terms of the well-being, the physicality through Daryl, and then the nutrition supplementation. So as I say, it is a lot different approach than some are doing because unfortunately, like everything in this world, everything's moving at such a fast pace. Even well-being companies, as much as they're doing, the human connection's still missing. You want to feel like you're a part of that team and they want to see you more than just once a month or once 3 months. Whereas we do that fully invested, they get access to us. We go in, we do the questionnaires, we want to hear from them. It's not like we're going to run to HR and go, this person said that, this person said that.
Right.
We do not need to tell the top tier people what's going on in terms of who said what. But there needs a synergy, and that's the breakdown in the corporate sector. As a lot of people have said, the corporate sector in Australia and America and England, the biggest commonality that we're seeing is it's messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that one of the things that we all hear about, listen to, it's burnout. And I think also people need a purpose for what they're doing. And I guess in that sense, yes, you need the health, you need the wellness, you need the mindset in order to function properly in a job. But like you guys said before, the focus, the energy, the productivity of one person isn't going to be there with just some speaker coming in that is not going to connect to their actual issues that they're having. What have been some of the results? Like, how do you measure the end point, and how do you show that to other companies so that they can then say, okay, well, if this has affected your company in this way, well, then the productivity of my company and the well-being of my employees can be 10 times better, and also myself. So how do you measure that?
Well, a lot of the service that we'll provide will be delivered through an app. So with that, we can then track all the analytics. That's just one of the smallest side of the business. That's just so that we can keep track of everybody's progress. Also individually, because we'll be going to companies, and we'll also be doing not just individual, but team building things as well. Because also people work in teams, but there's always one person who's not feeling right. So then the rest of the team is struggling, which then affects the overall projects that people might be working on. So it's about, them seeing a reduce in sick days, reduce in work cover days, where if in work injuries, and I'll let Dan take over the rest.
But that's a very good question. And, I can't stress enough the importance of building up an individual on an individual level. And then collectively, I mean, if you've got a team of 20 people, if you've got 20 people who are stressed, sleep deprived, tired, not in a good headspace, deficient in certain vitamins and minerals, then compared to 20 people who, on the flip side, on the other side of the scale, are feeling healthy, their energy levels are high, stress is always going to be there. But what was once, say for example, an individual or a team is encountered with something that's at a stress level of level 8 out of 10. When we build someone up so that they're more competent in the sense of their health and wellness across the board, mental health, what they consume, energy levels, rest, then that same stressor that was once an 8 now feels like a 4 or a 5.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a real important aspect that we focus on.
Do you
And when it
share?
comes to the end of it, sorry, Christy, when it comes to the end of it, they get a full down report of that. So that's the benefit of the app. Everything that is obviously registered through their bloods, and we can get the top CEOs with nurses. All of that is tracked from start to finish. So that is what we essentially are going to different companies with and saying, we work with X and Y and Z. These are the results, and this is how we can help you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And feedback. We get feedback through the questionnaires.
Do you feel that, like, anonymously, obviously, because okay, so these people come to you, you take the questionnaires. Do you feel that it is also an important part to, as a talk with them, as opposed to having some generic person or speaker come in, speak to them themselves about, okay, this is the overall feeling across the group of people, and sharing that with them, so that this way, like, what you're talking to them about is actually tangible and realistic. So when they're listening, they feel like it's actually going to make a difference in their life, as opposed to just a regular blanket talk.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why we don't just listen to HR departments on what they feel the company needs. That's where our initial questionnaires really come in, because it's all anonymous, and every single employee of that company fills that out. And then we get a complete feedback and like an overall health check of that company. And so it's not even just about asking them about their own health and well-being. It's about how they feel about their job, how they feel about being in the team that they're in. Do they feel like they are respected, or do they feel like they're getting neglected? So it's like looking at the company as a person, and we're doing a health check of that company. And then we'll go in, once we've got the questionnaires back, we've analyzed everything, then we'll go into the company, and then we'll do like a presentation of where the company is ill, I suppose you could say, like lacking in areas, and how we can fix that. And then the plan that we go through. And then each individual, then the program is customized to what that company needs. Again, that's where it comes down to not just being a generic program. We're actually there to make the companies a healthier functioning body, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
I think,
but when it comes to those speakers, Christy, I think, like we've spoken about it often, it has to be industry appropriate. And I think where we come in, and what we've seen when we've done a presentation, is we will share maybe 2 minutes of our story, right? And then we'll get in for tangible aspects that people can take away. One of the things is, obviously, through what I built, was going to listen to stories of other people. And the thing is, say, for example, if you are talking about your trauma and somebody in that room's already got trauma, so you're putting more trauma on top of it, what we try to do is diffuse all that. And we start it off. We're human beings. We're imperfect. As you know, that's the whole thing I'm about. But if Daryl goes in and goes, look, we know that you're probably working 80 hours a bloody week. You've got to come out. You've been told that you've got well-being. You've got pizzas and you've got some beers here just to bring everyone together. We know straight away 80% of you are probably rolling your eyes thinking, I ain't got time for this. I'm going back to my desk. Who's going to do that work? Who's going to do that? If it isn't industry appropriate, there's a huge disconnect. A footballer coming in, we've heard this story. When he needs motivation, he'll go for a 20K run. Tell somebody who's doing 80 hours a week, right? And this is the big thing with HR directors that we've spoke to, which has been a really good leadway for us, because we've said this to them, and they've said, if you're a one-stop shop, which we have been, because you know a lot of the speakers that I know, Christy, as well, we can bring those industry-related people that have been at the top of the corporate game, that have been in the sector of real estate, or whether it is construction. It needs to be where people resonate. And that's the whole thing about storytelling, which you know I'm about. But inject a slice of nutrition, supplementation, physicality, and mental well-being all in that, then people go, damn, these people are actually seeing me for me.
And I think I think that in and of itself is really important, because while you're there, doing this, giving them that feedback and having those talks that are related to what the problem really is, diagnosing or looking at the root as opposed to putting a Band-Aid on the symptom is really important in changing these people's lives, because ultimately 80% of your time is spent at your job. And if you're not happy, then you're 80% of your life, or the majority, is going to be unhappy. And therefore, you're not going to eat right. You're not going to do well. You're not going to feel good. You're going to have burnout. You're going to consistently, just be pushing and pushing and pushing. And then before you know it, you retire. Or, I know not a lot. Sorry, let me take that back. I know a couple of CEOs who have committed suicide, because of the pressure, because of the situation, and because so much was on them, that I think that something like this that is going to be long-term and long-lasting, and ultimately at the end of the day is also going to help with insurance companies and all of that other stuff, in the sense of, you're not going to have to be paying for medications and all of this other stuff, because you're actually going to be well from it. And I'm imagining that's the underlying idea here.
Absolutely. Like I said, the majority of people I've encountered are running suboptimal. And that's not to say we can all be operating at a 10 out of 10, but certainly if most of us are getting on with our daily life at a quality of life that's at 30%, if we can get that up to, which we certainly can, to 50, 60, 70%, it's life-changing, and it has a transfer effect into, your personal relationship, your marriages. You essentially are creating a better version of yourself. So, and then in the workplace, it all starts here. And if you go into any situation or scenario at 10% when you could be at 70%, then it's very obvious what difference that can make to every aspect of one's life.
So tell me about that, because I think that you are 100%. I think if I'm correct and remembering that you put a challenge out to CEOs and the people that you work with to ultimately do something in 2 weeks. Can you talk to us about that?
Sure. Basically, in my experience, again, most people are running at, to put a number on it, just to illustrate, this might not be 100% accurate, but the majority of people are running at below 50% of their
before you
potential.
Continue, tell me what does that mean? Like, they're running it below 50%, like in their sleep, in their diet, in their life, in their relationships. Like, what exactly does that mean, so people can understand?
Yeah, so across the board. So the big part of it starts with nutrition. So you could look at, whether it's in America or Australia, the obesity rate. Daza, you'd probably know a little bit more about this. What's the obesity rate in, for example, America or Australia, for example? It's in excess of 50% of the population is obese.
It's high. Yeah.
Like I say, it's, when you're looking at an individual running at 50%, when you think, if we're not fully functioning, it's like having a fog over your brain, in your eyes and brain. You can't see clearly, right? So if your nutrition's poor, you feel tired, lethargic, your stress and anxiety can be a little bit higher. If you're not exercising anyway, again, not having any release of endorphins, so again, adds to your stress levels and your anxiety levels. So you imagine if you're walking around with this foggy brain all day, the way you react to things is not going to be as if we start to lift that fog and you start seeing clearer. Then your decision making becomes sharper and more on point and the correct way. Whereas if you're seeing through a cloud, your chances are you're going to make the wrong decision.
Yeah, correct. And it's certainly multi-dimensional. From if you're carrying too much excess weight where it's affecting your breathing, you know, you walk up a few flights of stairs and you're huffing and puffing. I mean, the body's going to be running very inefficiently. You know, breathing is circulation. Then nutrition, what we put into our bodies. We are absolutely what we eat. And it's got a transfer effect with, like Daryl saying, with the brain fog, and you can't think straight because you're not breathing the way the body's meant to breathe. Circulation's suboptimal. Then you've got, because you're not moving enough. You know, you've got little ningles in your joints. You're not, muscle density and quality decreases. That then spills over to stress levels. That spills over to poor sleep. It's just, it really is a domino effect.
Yeah, become more
Really
irritable.
and then absolutely more irritable. And then, you know, something that's at a stress level of 5 or 6 really should be at a stress level of 1 or 2. You find situations harder to deal with. It's this human body is a machine, and if it's not taken care of, again, I use the analogy of a race car. If you put the wrong oil in it, and you put the wrong petrol, and the tires aren't inflated to what they should be, it's going to have a hard time getting around the streets, let alone a racetrack. Whereas it's not going to function to its capacity. And, you know, to be honest, Chrissy, I've said this for a long time, this industry is flooded with a lot of information. And for the most part, I've found this for a good part of 15 years. Most people come to me with questions that, I mean, I shouldn't say it's common sense. I've been doing this a long time. For me, perhaps it's common sense, but it's really not that difficult. It's really not that difficult, you know.
What are some of those questions what are some of those questions that people come to you with, that you're just kind of like?
Sure. People ask me, for example, let's talk about cardiovascular exercise. They'll say to me, Dan, what's the best form of cardio? And cardiovascular exercise essentially means getting your heart rate up to a certain level, whatever you choose that to be, whatever intensity you want to train at. But essentially, it's to get your cardiovascular health increased. They say, should I ride a bike? Should I run? Should I swim? I mean, if the heart doesn't know what kind of cardio work you're doing, whether it's sprinting on a push bike or sprinting on your feet or sprinting, swimming, they all have the same end result, and that is to get the heart rate up.
Right.
Okay. So to my response is choose something that you enjoy, because then we set people up not to fail.
Right.
Or we set people up to win. And the way to do that is to get them to do something that they want to do out of their own will. And the only way we can do that is to do something that doesn't rely completely on willpower. So that's why we don't prescribe meal plans that are, you know, along the lines of boiled chicken and broccoli. I mean, you're not going to eat boiled chicken and broccoli for the rest of your life. So it's a lot more of a realistic approach. And many people think that they do have to eat the traditional ultra low calorie diets and ultra low fat and ultra low carb. And that's not the case. You know, they go from eating a very poor diet, thinking that they have to eat a very strict diet, but that's certainly not the case. There is middle ground. There is a sensible middle ground that won't rely on an individual's willpower in order to succeed, but rather, because I've done things like ultra marathons where you need a certain degree of discipline and willpower in order to complete that. And willpower is something that can be strong if you're motivated, and that can also be weak at times. And you don't want people to rely on willpower, because essentially you're setting them up to fail, because willpower does have its highs and lows, but rather just consistent habits that they can manage and that they don't find challenging. And that's essentially, we set them up to win. And, you know, my track record shows that people that have come through me maintain their specific condition that they were aiming for 5, 10, 20 years post starting with me. It's because I set them up with realistic expectations and goals that I know that that they're willing to, and that they can undertake.
Yeah.
So can I just say, Christy, that being said, this is the challenge that we're actually putting out to companies. If you are a CEO of a company and you want to be put through for free, no charge of our 2-week protocol, just go to our official website at ascendia.com and you can try it out for yourself. ascendiawellness.com. Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn. I think that what you guys are doing is absolutely spectacular. And I think that many more companies and corporates, I mean, so many people need, and it basically is an overhaul. And it's almost cliche to the point where we sit and we say, oh, well, it's kind of like a car. If you don't put the right parts and you don't do, put the air in the tire. I mean, but that's the only realistic way that we can even actually compare for this, or compare to it of how much it's necessary. And we as humans are way more important than cars, right? So just to kind of to close up and to have you guys talk about with Ascendia, what is it that you want people to leave off with, to understand more about the company, and how, like, I know you just said how they can get in touch and how they can read more about it and everything, but I want to know, I want your final thoughts in each of your guys' specific areas of what you're going, what exactly you bring to it, and how these companies can connect with you to be able to do this. And we're going to do that right after we take a really quick break.
Every Friday at 7 p.m., Punta Cana Hits presents What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio, the #1 English talk show in the area, with the best that the Dominican Republic and the rest of the world have to offer.
Punta Cana Hits cumple 10 años y lo celebramos en grande.
Punta Cana Hits, una gran emoción.
Prepárate para una noche llena de música, sorpresas y la mejor vibra. No te lo puedes perder. No te lo puedes perder. 10º aniversario de Punta Cana Hits. Sábado 22 de noviembre. Sábado 22 de noviembre. Te esperamos en Hard Rock Café, Downtown Punta Cana.
Cápsula Flash de manejo responsable con Jason Cabrera. Una de las razones más importantes por las cuales nuestro tránsito terrestre sufre embotellamientos es porque entre nosotros existen conductores de alto nivel que ocupan espacios en la vía que ni siquiera están habilitados para ellos. Muchos toman el paseo y otros hasta el sentido contrario. ¿Eres tú uno de esos o será que puedes ver uno en este momento? Para aprender esto y más, presta atención a las cápsulas Flash de manejo responsable con Jason Cabrera y sigue en sintonía con Punta Cana Hits.
Talk Show Bávaro, de lunes a viernes de 6 a 7 de la tarde. Cada día, segmentos diferentes te acompañan para educarte y divertirte con una increíble variedad.
En Punta Cana se hace radio a mi manera.
Sintoniza solo y exclusivamente por 90.3 FM Radio Bávaro y por puntacanahits.com, YouTube, Facebook y TikTok. Talk Show Bávaro, una producción de Punta Cana Hits.
Every Friday at 7 p.m., Punta Cana Hits presents What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio, the #1 English talk show in the area, with the best that the Dominican Republic and the rest of the world have to offer.
Okay, so I'm want to ask you the question one more time, in the sense of, everybody today is looking for a quick fix. The quick fix, everybody wants it, everything instantaneously. We know that mindset is not instantaneous. Nutrition is not instantaneous. Fitness is not instantaneous. It is a habit. It's something that we need to create, that we need to form. So what is it that now, as we come to a close of talking about of this and how you're changing people's lives, what is the most important takeaway of these three things: mindset, fitness, nutrition?
Well, like we say, with it all, it has to be a one ecosystem, that holistic approach. So with us, we don't just go in and speak once and then that's it. We do the questionnaire and that's it, and give like kind of our injection into a company and say, this is what we think you need to do. We start from a 3-month program to a 6-month to a 12-month, as well as the retreats where we can take the top tier CEOs with us. So the biggest takeaway would be, if you are a company out there or HR professional, people and culture, that you know that the infrastructure within the capacity of all your employees, there's a disconnect there, then contact us today, as I say, through that website, ascendiawellnessgroup.com, and you can get that thorough questionnaire sent straight out to you. One of the guys will be on that phone with you, walking you through all those stages. But unfortunately, what we are seeing in this world, and me and you, Christy, have spoke about this, is if there's a disconnect in the middle, then everything else is going to fall apart. It's almost like you need to cut that cancer out before it starts spreading. That can be in productivity, that can be people taking time off. And we all know those staggering reports of how much companies are losing daily because of all these things. And it starts from one thing. So that takeaway would be, you need a thorough, independent, holistic ecosystem put into place where it's not just a one little thing and then we've ticked a box and we've moved. Like, mental health is not a one tick box. I think that's where companies think they're doing the right thing by, we've ticked it off, and that's going to make everything right. We were hearing that there was companies, and I'll finish off in saying, spending between $50,000 to $70,000 on pizzas and drinks for their company to bring that camaraderie back, to try and think of ways to essentially get everybody on side with them. Those things aren't working no more. Gen Z are coming through. They don't work how we work. So we have to also cater towards how the top tier CEOs are now connecting with those bottom Gen Z who, quite frankly, do not work the way that we do. They don't listen. They've got more confidence than we ever did. So how can you build a productive team if Gen Z are more confident and have more, per se, balls to turn around and say, I'm not doing that? This disconnect.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the main separators, Chrissy, is we pride ourselves, for lack of a better word, on feedback. And we make amendments and adjustments according to feedback. So there isn't a one size fits all, and you might have a perfect protocol. There's no such thing. Individuals have different protocols, but we go further than that. And we do follow-up. We do follow-ups with things like rate of progress, feedback according to things like energy levels, sleep quality, clarity of mind, mood. Some individuals might have niggling pains in their joints due to inflammation, which can potentially be from poor diet. So it's a strategy that we follow up, we continually follow up, and we amend and make adjustments according to rate of progress and feedback for certain criteria that I just mentioned: mood, energy levels, clarity of mind, focus. So it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah, we at the end of the day, we all have jobs that we have to go to. How you go to that job is how you feel and the outcome of your life, right? So if you go into a job that you feel miserable at, then you're at the job. How your mood is at work because you're upset, miserable, angry for whatever reason, then you carry that through the day. So then you hate your job. Then you go home, you're frustrated, you're angry because you hate your job. So it's our job. So it's not like mindset is number one, nutrition is number one, fitness is number one. It's a combination of all three together that will equal that person going to their job, feeling a little bit better about themselves. Then already, if you go and do a walk or some kind of exercise, physical exercise first thing in the morning, that already starts you off feeling a little bit different to if you're just rolling out of bed, drinking a cup of coffee and then going to work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more because, I mean, really and truly, each one builds into each other. You know, it's not like, okay, I'm going to have a good mindset and then that's going to make me want to work out, or I'm going to work out and then that's going to put me the endorphins and I'm going to be in a better mood. They all play a part, like you said, in this ecosystem of well-being in general. And so, and then your diet and your nutrition. Am I going to be lethargic because I decided to eat a donut for breakfast as opposed to eating something healthier for breakfast, And so it all impacts each other. And I think that because we live in a society that is so, I want it now. Okay, well, I can eat whatever I want, and then I could just go on some fad diet and then lose it all, and then it's just going to eventually come back anyways. Or I'm going to go to a conference for 2 days, and I'm going to feel great about myself, and then go back, and then the letdown is going to end up going away. And I think what you guys are doing is tremendous in this sense, because I don't think that I've heard of anything else out there that really and truly is not just looking at one piece of a company or one piece of a corporate. You're literally taking the whole picture and moving it in a direction where everybody can move forward together in a better and healthier way. And who wouldn't want that?
Exactly.
So I want to thank you, Glenn, Daryl, and Daniel, for being on my show tonight from all the way across the other world. It's already Saturday for you guys. It's a Friday here, but I am so grateful to have had you, and I hope that you are able to push through and push into so many companies and corporates and that really and truly need what you guys are providing with Ascendia Wellness Group.
Thank you. And can I just finish it off and just say, for anybody listening to this, seriously, with that protocol, 2 weeks for free, there's no down payment, there's no anything behind it. We just want to show people around the world, the top CEOs, how a 2-week protocol under the guise of all three of us can actually bring that productivity, not just personally, but professionally, all the way back. So take advantage. There are a lot of people, as you say, who want to get to success really, really quick. Well, what's 2 weeks out of that?
Exactly.
You've got nothing to lose. To see how your mood can change and your team can change, like, get in touch with us.
And that's an offer. Like, that's a risk-free guarantee right there. You don't, it's just 100%. You have nothing to lose and so much to gain.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for having us, Christy.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Christy.
And talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio. Until next time, bye-bye.
Every Friday at 7 p.m., Punta Cana Hits presents What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio, the #1 English talk show in the area, with the best that the Dominican Republic and the rest of the world have to offer.
Punta Cana Hits cumple 10 años y lo celebramos en grande.
Punta Cana Hits, una gran emoción.
Prepárate para una noche llena de música, sorpresas y la mejor vibra. No te lo puedes perder. No te lo puedes perder. 10º aniversario de Punta Cana Hits. Sábado 22 de noviembre. Sábado 22 de noviembre. Te esperamos en Hard Rock Café, Downtown Punta Cana.